Hello and welcome to the Direct Selling Success Podcast. I'm Anna Green and I'm here to share with you tips, tricks, and training on network marketing done right. Thank you for listening. Oh, hello everyone, and welcome to Direct Selling Success Network Marketing Done Right. I have a lovely guest with us today. I'd like you to meet Amy Downs, the content wizard. Amy and I have known each other a while through social media.
Yes, it's funny how you can be in each other's world for years and know each other, but it's only once you sort of finally find the time to collaborate where you start to get to know each other more. But I've always felt like you and I we work from the same page, I think, don't we?
Yeah, I think so. We have very similar messages.
Yeah.
Yeah, work with small business owners, and yeah, it was great to connect when we were sat having the chat about what we were going to talk about on the podcast, going, oh yes, I think like that too. So yeah, it was perfect really. So I thought, do you know what, Amy so needs to come on this podcast because she's the specialist in the content subject. And I think you all
Thank
need to hear
you.
from her. So Amy, will you just introduce yourself a little bit for us?
Of course, thank you so much. So I am Amy Downs. I am the content wizard, and I have been a social media social media manager for about 8 years now. So I have a background in journalism and then corporate marketing. In particular, towards the end of my time there, I started working very closely with the social media team. And unfortunately, I was made redundant whilst I was pregnant with my eldest son. So I was thrown in at the deep end, starting my career from scratch at a time when you really don't want to be having to scramble for work. And I took the decision that I would go freelance so that I could fit my work around him. And that became a really key thing. Something I'm super passionate about is being flexible around everything else in your life and being able to get that work-life balance. And in pre-COVID times, there just wasn't that option. So freelance felt like the only way. And then over time, that then developed into my own business. So originally, I started working with PR agencies and I was doing social media for their clients. Learned the trick of the trade. A couple of my managers I saw more as mentors at the time who were helping me learn. But there was a lot of doing it myself and finding my own ways, finding my own processes, particularly around the other things I had going on in my life, i.e., Harry, and since then, my youngest son, James. And I always tell the story of literally, I can picture vividly being in my kitchen in the flat where we used to live when Harry was a baby, with him on one hip and the other hand typing content out on the laptop, because it was just literally trying to juggle all the time and having to check in on something that was going on while you're feeding him and things like that. So finding processes that made creating content creating content more easy so that I wasn't stressed out all the time, but more streamlined and simple and less time consuming became like a really big thing for me. And then, as with a lot of us, I think when COVID hit, the work went very, very quiet. But I took that as an opportunity to take a step back and think about what I really, really wanted to do. And I think that's what I love most about being self-employed, is being able to take your career in your own direction. You find the thing you're passionate about and you take your business in that direction. And I knew from very early on that what I really wanted to do was share those skills that I'd learned with other small business owners, so that when they're facing the same challenges as me, maybe they've got a part-time job, a full-time job, even so many people I've worked with, whilst they're trying to run another business, their own business on the side, balancing it with school kids or caring responsibilities, everything. Next week, I have one day in my office because I've got sports day and I've got this, that, and the other, and it's a crazy time. So just trying to help other people figure out how social media can fit into that without either falling off the wagon and losing your posts and not ever doing anything, or trying to force yourself to be everywhere and burning out, which so many people do. So that is my thing. My area of magic is strategy and planning. That's what I like to help people with, is coming up with what your mission is and how social media can help you achieve that, and then planning your content to help you get that work-life balance. But my real goal is to make social media feel more fun, and something I'd like to describe it as, I want to turn it, change it, transform it from a daily chore that you dread doing to a magical tool with which you know you can make good things happen. So that is my goal.
And you do that, and even looking at your branding and how you portray yourself on social media and the words and the language that you use throughout your content, you just know it's you as soon as you read it and see it. And the magical wizardry theme, I don't know, it resonates with me massively, but I bet it resonates with a lot of your audience as well, doesn't it?
I get a lot of people. So I've had a real dilemma over recent years. I remember writing a blog pre-COVID, so I know that like the whole Joe Rowling debate has been going on for a long, long time now. And this is something I've thought about over and over again, and whether I want my business to be connected with the world of wizardry. But that is where it's come from. And it is my personal story. So my husband, Harry Potter has always been a massive thing for me. Me and my sister used to love it. I've been to the studio tour 10 times. Me and my sister went the week it opened. We went to the midnight screenings of the films towards the end. And it's huge for me. It's a real passion point. And I loved the stories in it of trying to do good, and that moral dilemma of whether to do the thing that's going to serve you or whether to do the right thing to help other people. So that's where that theme came from in my life. Then I was introduced to my husband by my best friend because we were both Harry Potter fans. He proposed to me in front of the Hogwarts scale model at the studio tour. We announced that we were pregnant with my eldest at the studio tour, in the mirror of Erised. If anyone's not Harry Potter, they're gonna be like, what is she on about? But our wedding was Potter themed. My youngest is named James, who is James Potter. So it made sense to me for the business to have the wizard theme as well. They see me, most people will think Harry Potter in general anyway. So it just made sense. And it was about bringing my own story into my business to help make me different from other social media
Yeah.
managers. But I think it also taps into that idea of playing and having a bit of fun. Social media doesn't have to be churning out sales posts all the time. It's about finding that spark, that bit of magic that makes you you, and bringing that to life, adding a bit of creativity, I suppose. And I know that that is something that we wanted to talk about today, is about bringing yourself into your content. And one of the ways you can do that is by creating a brand. And of course, you have done that yourself, Anna.
Yeah, yeah, I have, I've done it without realizing. I mean, mine isn't themed in any way, shape, or form. I am just very much being me, confidently being
Yeah,
me, shouting about what I believe, and then passing that on to other people that I know feel and want the same things that I do.
yeah,
So for me, it's a brand that's grown with how I want to be seen and who I am as a person, and it does set me apart from everybody else. And I think that's really important when we are in this sea of billions of people on social media. How do you stand out?
yeah.
You can't be doing the same things that everybody else is doing. You can't be saying the same things that everybody else is saying, because you're just going to end up in this pool of everybody else saying the same stuff.
Exactly, exactly. And at the moment, we've got enough of that in the world with ChatGPT churning out all the content that's on social media. You need something, because otherwise people are just reading the same thing again and again, and they're just going to scroll past your post if they even get shown it. So
Yeah.
it is definitely about getting down to who you want to be. And actually that doesn't, you can dig deep into your brand in so many different ways. But that can often feel overwhelming. And I think
Mm.
the place to start is, what do you love and what do you want to do? What is your mission? You didn't set out to sell lipsticks. You didn't set out to help people reduce their bills or whatever it is that you do. you had a mission. There was a reason you chose to run that business in particular. I chose social media because I know it is a wonderful way of sharing your story and sharing all these amazing stories in the world of people out there who set up their own businesses and them inspiring others as well as being able to help them with their own knowledge and experience. So that's what I want to do. That's always been my mission right back from journalism, is sharing stories. So I think that's the first place to start. If you're thinking about brand me, is actually what do I want to achieve? And if like me, you've got a few quirks and you've got a few things, we all have. Everybody has got something about them that makes them special. Even right down to, both you and I are West Yorkshire, aren't we? So
Oh, nearly. Just
you're
across the
just
border in
over,
North
aren't you?
Yorkshire.
That's right. So,
Near
but
enough,
that
though.
that in itself, there are people out there who've built brands around what part of the country they are. And that yes, originally it might be to pick up local people, but it will just add to their identity. I'm straight away thinking of a lady called Kylie Dixon, who's got the Northern Lass Lounge. She is a Geordie. First thing you think about, the way she writes her posts is with Geordie language. So that is part of her brand, and that is what makes her memorable. So there will be something about you, but the most important thing is not, for me, is not to think, oh, what should I do for other people? Will people like this? Won't they like that? It's what do you love? What makes you happy? What makes you most confident? Because once you're feeling confident in yourself, you will be able to put that out there everywhere without having to worry. But if you're trying to be a person you think you have to be, you won't be as confident. So it's all about being you.
Yeah, totally. And that is one of the most difficult things on social media because you see everybody else doing stuff and you think, well, I can't be like them. Or they're doing it this way and it's perfect and it's amazing. I could never be like that. Or I should be doing it like that because I've been told to do it like that. Or, all these things go through
Yes.
our heads and we're constantly bombarded with all these posts that other people are doing that we want to try and be like or try and beat or whatever it might be, and it's just so difficult to
Yeah.
stick to who you are and think, "No, actually this is me and I want to confidently be me on there and cut through that."
Yeah. And if you're not sure who you want to be, then you are going to question and you're going to see someone who does something similar to think, similar to you and think, oh, should I be doing that? Would that be a better idea? And you're going to try different things. And at the end of the day, your audience, or as I like to call them, online army, the people that you are connecting with and the relationships you're growing, they're not going to get to know you, so they're not going to remember you.
Yeah.
So tapping into who you really are is so much more important than, I suppose it's a bit like, maybe actually even on a podcast would be a really good example. You could you could get ChatGPT to write you your answers before you go on. You can tell I'm on a bit of it went down last week and I was like, oh my God. It made me think with my own brain and I didn't like it. But you could come up with, okay, so I want to sound professional and I want to sound serious or whatever, and you could have prepared answers for this podcast, or you could just come on and chat and you let your real experience and your real feelings come out. And that is the thing that people are going to remember and most importantly, connect with. And of course, further down the line, trust you as well. So
Yeah.
that's what it's all about, is building the trust so they remember you. And when they need
Yeah.
the thing that you've got to offer them, they'll come to you.
Yeah, it's being that memorable person for being you. Because
Mm.
I remember when ChatGPT first came out, stick with the ChatGPT theme, and I remember creating a post through it just to see what would happen.
Yeah,
Just, and I remember putting it out there and looking at it and thinking that's not me.
yeah,
It it doesn't connect with me.
yeah,
And it would be like me. I don't know, talking about wizardry in a post and making it all really clever and amazing
Yeah,
like you do with all the Harry Potter references, and my audience looking at it and going, who's this that's writing this? Total disconnect
yeah,
because it doesn't sound like me. It sounds like Amy. What's the point?
exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly. Oh,
it's
that and vice versa as well. If you
mm,
ask ChatGPT, I've just written one today about coming up with ideas for content and what to do when you're staring at a blank page, because we all get that feeling. I do it if I'm like, oh, I haven't posted today. Oh my goodness, what am I going to do? That pressure and that. Oh, I wanted to do this post, but I don't even know where to start. You're looking at the blank page. So, sorry, the post was about ideas. Now, I could go to ChatGPT and say to them, it's International Writing Day today, do me a post about it. But it won't have that story of, I've always wanted to be a writer. I've done writing since I was a teenager in some shape or form. I wish I had more time to do it. I want to help other people have time to do the stuff they love. ChatGPT won't know that. It will just do a bog standard post. And the amount of clients that come to me who've either used it themselves or had someone do it for them, and they're just like, it's not my voice. It's really hard, and the sad thing is that you're putting that effort into content, but you're not going to get anything out of it because you're missing the point of actually genuinely connecting with people. Like, you wouldn't sit in a pub and leave a computer there chatting with your mates, would you? So, or you wouldn't go to a networking meeting and expect a robot to be able to tell people about you, because it isn't you, it's not the real you.
no, and it does form a massive disconnect, and everybody just sounds the same, and I
Yeah,
think it is such a great tool,
100%.
but you need to make it you.
Yeah.
Whatever you're putting in there or whatever you're taking away from that, you are making you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it is a great time saving tool.
Yeah.
I've just been using it this morning. I take pages from my toolkit that I've just released, and I say, right, I want to do a post about this. Can you, using as many as my original words as possible, can you turn this into a social media post? Then I will copy and paste it, and I will go through it and edit it, and it will still come out with phrases that don't sound like me, and
Yeah.
it just doesn't feel like it flows properly for me. And one of my things is, because I've got a background in journalism, it's been drilled into me about structuring your writing. And in a newspaper article, you'll have the most important thing, information at the top, the thing that drags people in, hooks them in, then the information that people need, and then you'll delve a bit more into the story. But ChatGPT doesn't know that. It's just going to churn out the information that you give it in a, like, it just doesn't have that human understanding. So the people who are reading your posts, it will just hit them as a wall of information, and they won't kind of
Yeah.
connect with it. It doesn't have to be complicated. And I love it as a tidying up tool, because I have a habit, in case you hadn't noticed already in the in the last half an hour, I have a habit of waffling. So I really like ChatGPT for just saying, actually, it will cut it down. And that
Yeah.
is what you need on social media. You need a post that you can read quickly. And I do like it for ideas and swapping. This is a social media post. Can you do me it as an email? And it'll just change the format for it. And I think that's really helpful. But my firm belief is that, and I'm talking about it on my pages this week actually, is that the best content you can ever have is what comes from your heart, and that's the stuff that people will resonate with. So that's, never feel like you're competing with ChatGPT, because you're always going to win that race.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I've seen several posts over the past few weeks that have just been exactly the same as each other, just
Yes.
saying pretty much the same thing in the same format. And I just think, oh, what a shame. Um, if they'd just taken that post and just tweaked it and added and taken bits out and, just edited it a little bit to make it sound like them, it
Yeah.
would have been so much better. But,
And
it's
that's
a
where
learning
having a
curve.
really clear idea of your goal, your mission, who you are, your own brand is really, really important, because you could look at a wall of writing from ChatGPT and think, oh my God, where do I start? How do I know if this sounds like me? How do I, well, because you wouldn't say, I had one this morning, it was lights up your soul. And I was like, I would never talk like that. Absolutely no shade at people who would talk about aligning your
Yeah, yeah,
soul. I hate that phrase, and that's an AI phrase, aligning your soul. But it isn't what I would say. So I asked it to give me a few magical versions, and eventually I came up with one that felt more like something I would say in conversation. I tweaked it a bit, but that's where coming back to getting confident in who you are and what your mission is will then help you with things like using ChatGPT, because either you'll notice it and say, no, that's not on in line with me, or you can tell it, right, make sure you include, I
yeah,
always say include Harry Potter references. And sometimes it will come up with some great ones. I'm like, oh my God, I love this. And other times I'm like, no, that makes no sense. Let me change that one for you. So it is like you say, a helpful tool, but having your own brand
yeah,
is where you can make it really, really work well.
yeah. So talking of working well, what is working well at the moment? 2025 has been a mixed year for social media with so many changes on the platforms and things. What is working content wise?
So my argument is always that trends will come and go. And you could put hours and hours into learning skills to keep up with whatever the latest reel is, whatever the latest platform is, and then it will disappear. There was a platform a couple of years ago that was everywhere, and I can't think, Clubhouse. And
Yes.
everybody went and jumped on it. And honestly, I thought it was a cracking idea and I loved the sound of it. But I didn't have the time at the time to invest in a new platform. And do you know what? I'm really glad I didn't, because it disappeared off the face of the earth and nobody ever uses it now. So for me, and maybe this is a really bad thing to say as a social media manager, I tend to step back from the trends and focus more on a sustainable, consistent strategy. And that's where consistency comes in as being important. So, having, for me, I believe what works is having a plan and a structure that you can stick to, that means you show up consistently. That could be 3 times a week on your pages. That, or it could be a couple of times a day. Eventually, you might well build up to that often because you'll have that much content. You have to find a pattern that works for you, and it will grow over time. But I believe that consistency is the key, and also in your messaging. So going back to knowing your brand and your mission and sticking to that, having that is what makes it sustainable. That is what makes the people you meet last for longer as potential clients, because you are you forever. Reels, trending audio, whatever, that will change daily. And as soon as you've got your head around how to do one, it's going to be different for the next. So for me, what is working well is finding what works for you. And that is something that will be my advice every year, not just 2025. In terms of what is going well at the moment, short videos definitely are. There's absolutely no doubt that reels are the most popular for reach. Um, However, I find them hard to plan ahead and schedule, and clients will feed that back to me because they're time consuming. So my advice is always to get consistent and what I call static content. So a photo or a graphic or a carousel that you can schedule ahead, planning your content so that you've got your consistent messaging. And then in the moment, you can do a reel. So I've got some lovely videos of me and the boys on Scarborough Beach, and that will definitely be coming out on my social media at some point. But I can do it when I feel like doing it, when the sparks hit me. Um, and there are loads of people out there who will teach you how to do reels far better than I can. But for me, I think it's just keeping it simple and keeping it you is what works. And what hits viral will be different every day. The best post I've ever done was a reel of on a time lapse video of me blowing up my child's paddling pool, and the audio was Pirates of the Caribbean because it's a pirate ship. And it just so happened it was the week that the latest Pirates of the Caribbean film had come out. So it was trending. So that helped. The time lapse video, I think people kept watching it, and it had a few funny comments on it. So, like in the text. So there's loads of different things you can do. But for me, I think it's about the creativity, because that is the more sustainable thing. Rather than chasing trends, stick with what feels fun and nice to you, because you could spend hours on a video and it not go anywhere. But if you've enjoyed making it, that helps keep the motivation and the joy around social media. So I know that's a really like flaky answer because there's
It's
no
not
straight
though.
up do this, do that.
No,
But
it's what I wanted to hear because that's
oh, good.
exactly what I say. I just wanted to see what your opinion on it was because I am very much of do what level of consistency you feel you're capable and
Yes,
build it up. Don't try and be everywhere all at once. Be you and yeah, the more time you're spending trying to work out what's trending and creating these amazing reels that have transitions and God only knows what else in them, you could have spent actually making sales conversations or
exactly
connecting
that.
with your audience in some sort of genuine way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Everything I do is focused on freeing up the time so you can do what you love. Social media is what I enjoy. But I need to make my priority every week is doing my client content. The time I've only just sat, we're recording this on Wednesday, and I've only just sat down this morning to do my own content for next week. And hopefully, if I can get on it quickly enough this today, I'll do it for the following week as well. But that I have to prioritize my client work, and I know that everybody else is in the same position. And especially for your audience, that those sales conversations are key. But we get so caught up in the day-to-day admin and packaging and whatever else you've got to deal with that you miss those conversations, and they're what you
Yeah.
need to be doing. I tell you, the one thing that has been working really well for me for probably 12 months or more is creating a bank of content. And I always feel like for network marketing, that could be a really easy thing to do. And it's worked. I've done it for all the clients that I've worked with in the last year. What I've done is created a bank of content for them, so I can dip into it and I can swap and change. So around half term, one of my clients talks about neurodiversity, and so we were talking about taking a break over half term and how actually for neurodiverse people, particularly ADHD, that can be really challenging. And then on the other side of it, transitions and transitioning back into a different style of life and how challenging that is. Now, that is content that I can use and reuse over and over again, but I would just pick it up. I'll probably reuse it in September after the school holidays and things. I can just tap into that topic. I can search in my little Word document, transitions, and I've got those posts. And you build that up by saving your favorite ones and the ones that work the best and things like that. So that for me is absolutely key for consistency. And of course, once you've got that bank of content, it then frees you up to do the other things that are so important for your business.
Yeah, because content doesn't have to be new all the time, does it? If you're
No,
talking about one thing,
yeah,
your business is, there's not that many products or services that you want to concentrate on all the time. You can literally just have that there and repeat the conversations down the line over and over again. Even things like your reels, they only last so long before they disappear off down your feed and nobody ever sees them again.
yeah,
So why can't you use them again?
absolutely. I've got a lovely one I used for a client in April. She's bouncing on a space hopper. And it is just my favorite. I think it's wonderful. And it's talking about meditation and how it can be fun. And you just wouldn't think of the two going together. So you stick a different trending audio on it, maybe tweak the wording to whatever you're talking about at the time. But those little fun B-roll videos that you've got hidden in your camera, in your gallery on your phone, they could be used again and again, or one that you've already done, like you say. So yeah, absolutely. I think we feel pressure to do something fresh because we worry that people are going to say, ugh, Like, that's boring. She's already said it. But there's two things to that. One, they probably haven't already seen your post. And two, they need reminding. The analogy I always use is my kids getting home from school and just dumping their shoes in the hallway if they even take them off their feet. How many times have I had to say to them, put them in the box, put them in the box? It's taken months. And they still don't do it every time. I still have to remind them, and that's what you have to do. But again, it comes back to having that really clear message. You want people to remember the things that you're telling them, so you have to keep telling them again and again. And I have posts that I share occasionally, like once every sort of 6 months or so. And there's one where I talk about the choosing one thing to promote because everybody finds that really hard to do. So I love sharing that and challenging them to choose one thing. Um, but I always get people saying, Amy, I hadn't thought of it like this. I'm really grateful to your post, or I'd forgotten you said this. Yes, I must remember that. And actually, people don't mind being reminded of it as long as you're giving them good value.
Yeah, you're right. And I think people worry so much about how they feel like they're repeating themselves all the time.
Yeah,
But then they are, but it's important that they do. But it's also important to remember that you're not repeating yourself to the same people over and over again if you're building your audience.
yeah,
The one thing that I teach is you should
exactly that.
always speak to the newest person in the room.
Yes.
What I learned in my days in network marketing, you talk to the newest person in that room, and your social media is your room. So if you're repeating yourself with the basics of who you are, what you do, why you do it, what the
Yeah,
problem is that you solve, what results you can get for people, which is pretty much it from a sales point of view, and then letting people get to know who you are and building that community, you're talking to the newest person in the room all the time, and everybody else is just hearing the same things in a different way, maybe over
yeah,
and over and over again, so they understand.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because they're getting the, if it is somebody who's already read it, then they are at a different point in their life. They
Yes.
may have seen you give this wonderful tip or share this really nice personal story about you, but because they were worried about sorting the school uniform out or getting the dinner ready or under pressure from a client and having to deal with a complaint, they will have read it, but it might not have gone in and hit. This time around, they might be in a position where you think, actually, yeah, I really need that. So you're sharing it. I think you worded that perfectly then. They're just hearing it in a different way, and you have no control over that. So all you can do is keep sharing. I'm going to go corny, keep sharing that magic again and again. Harry Potter doesn't have to come up with a different spell every time he casts one to disarm Voldemort. It's the same thing again and again. Of course, everybody knows the word Expelliarmus, don't they? So
Yeah.
it's
And yeah, look at the Coca-Cola adverts. The same thing
yeah,
over and over and over and over again. They do not change their message.
yeah,
Very rarely do they change their message. And when they do, you're like, that's not normal.
yeah,
What's going on there? What are they
exactly.
talking about? How dare they talk about something else?
Tesco's every little helps. They'll know
Yeah.
that you just know it. You think of a name and you connect that name to a purpose. And
Yeah.
that's what we have to do. And they've done that because literally we've all grown up with those for our whole lives. We are small businesses that haven't been around for decades like they have. So we've got to make sure that we are um, being as consistent and probably learning from them in terms of what they do with their branding, but we have the benefit of we can add a bit of personality into it as well.
Yeah. And we don't have the multi-million pound advertising budget that they
Yeah,
do. So we have to work with what we've got.
exactly, exactly.
Yeah. And I think that is our unique selves.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
100%.
yeah, so to finish, I want your most common mistakes that you see on social media. Because I know I'm probably making them, and I'm quite sure a lot of people in the audience are making them.
Okay, so the first one is leaving gaps in posting. Whenever I have done a social media audit for somebody or started working with a new client, I can see that there is gaps, and they'll have had a good week and they'll have posted every day for a week, and then they've burnt out, and then they haven't posted for 3 weeks, and then they've tried again, and then after a couple of weeks they've run out. So if that is resonating, you are not alone. Even me, if you go through my posts, you'll see gaps where I've obviously just lost my routine. But I am telling you now that is where you get the gaps in the inquiries and the sales. So the first mistake is not being consistent, but that is also in the messaging. So the second mistake is people swapping from one thing to another. I know some women who have some incredible marketing, some wonderful posts that they do. They post, I'm seeing them all over my timeline constantly, but I could not tell you what they actually have to offer me at the moment because they have told me so much stuff, I don't know where to go. So focusing on one thing will make a massive difference. I was just sharing the example this morning, actually, at a networking session. So for the last 6 months or longer, I have been focusing on my new toolkit. I released it in March. It's been a huge thing for me. I believe genuinely it's going to be transformational for people who buy it. I love it. So I've been talking about it for ages. Because we're coming up to the summer holidays, I wanted to do a planning session. They've been popular in the past and people love them. So I wanted to do one. And I have changed my content to talk about the workshops. My inquiries and questions about the toolkit have dropped. And I'm still at the stage of trying to build up recognition for the planning sessions. And actually, I think I'd have been better off sticking to the spell book and maybe finding a different route to promote the workshops, like even if it was just my stories or anybody who asked about the toolkit, I could tell them about the cauldron as well. So that idea of picking one thing and sticking to it is super important. One caveat to that, I do understand that in network marketing that is hard because you may have lots of products that you're doing. However, I have seen it done really well. So a client that I worked with and I absolutely adore, she is a makeup. She does makeup and various other, the best moisturizer I've ever had in my life. It smells amazing. So she does that. But the reason I connected with her in the first place was because her brand is makeup and her as a guide and what she does to help you with that. And because of that, I now go to her every time I need new makeup. And I will, or I'll be straight on whenever I see she's got any sales on and stuff like that. So she hasn't focused on that moisturizer that I love. I'm not saying she can only talk about that moisturizer, but she has focused on the idea of makeup and her mission being helping women feel more confident about that. And I think that that is something that you can fit into any network marketing, is the broader umbrella of what you do, and then the testimonials, etc., will help you explain exactly what you have to offer, like a moisturizer or a lipstick or things like that.
Yeah.
I have
Yes.
also, there was a lady who was well known for her lipsticks, and
Hmm.
that became really like her thing, but people would also go to her for other things because they knew they could trust her from the lipstick. But that for me is, it's that again, it goes back to that overall mission. Why
Yeah,
did you choose
totally.
that business? Why do you want to do that? And then that should guide you on to, my overall mission, like I said to you, was helping other business owners learn how to run their social media and to make their life easier. So the toolkit has been a natural progression of everything I've done. And it makes total sense to me for that to be my chosen one. So that I think is probably the next thing, is picking one thing and getting really consistent, both in how often you're posting, but also your messaging. And then there was another one I was just thinking, too many sales posts,
Yes.
or the complete opposite and not doing
Or
any at
not at all.
all. So finding a variety of posts, but if every single post on your Instagram, if I go down your Instagram grid and I can't see your face, I'm going to come off because I want to know you, and
Yeah.
I want to find out your story, and I want to know why I would pick you to work with and buy from. Um, but equally, having the occasional graphic that explains what you do as well. It makes it really super clear, like order my my drinks here, and then so that makes it really easy for them to do it. So having a variety of posts within your content is essential. Don't have everyone as buy my such and such with the features and that being it, because they can get that from the website. you need to find other ways of telling stories about it for people to get interested in and engage with, asking questions, getting people to share their thoughts and things like that. So it gets a little bit more complicated as you talk about that, but just a variety of posts is really, really important.
Yeah, I totally agree. I see it so often that it's just a barrage of buy my stuff, join my team
Yeah,
with all the facts and figures, and nobody really buys into that as content.
yeah,
Social media is designed to be social on, not to sell on. So we've got to maximize that opportunity.
yeah.
And I don't think enough people do.
100%. And I know that's where we started our conversation
Yeah.
is because of the Zucker world turning into what it has, Meta has become very focused on ads. But if you talk to anyone, the first thing they will say they hate about social media is that all they see is sponsored posts. And actually, we kind of need to counteract that with posts people really want to see. And they don't want to see you trying to sell them something. They want to see a story. They want to hear, they want to see your opinion and share their own. They want to get involved with a conversation. Social networking is about meeting people and building relationships. It isn't about sales. So I quite often ask people, what do you see as social media success? And if it's sales as the first most important thing, then you might want to revisit that idea of what difference do I want to make in the world? Because it isn't on its own, it won't make you the sales you need because it doesn't work like that. Us as small businesses can't work like that. Actually, social media is about making connections and building genuine relationships so that, like my makeup lady, she did my wedding 4 years ago, and I've been buying stuff from her ever since. I still go back to her 4 years later because I've got to know her, and she is my connection now. And vice versa. I like to think I have people who, when they're worried about social media, they message me, and that's what you want, rather than expecting to get 10 sales out of one post.
Yeah, because, well, at one time that might have happened, back
Yeah,
in 2015, maybe.
yeah,
Not anymore.
yeah.
Doesn't work like that anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. It's about directing them into your community, you being a perfect example of how that works. However, that it might be a mailing list, it might be your Facebook group, it could be WhatsApp groups. They're going down
Yeah.
very well, actually. They're working really well. So whatever you create as the community, even just your Instagram page, people build wonderful communities on their Instagram page or on a YouTube channel where people are chatting within the comments. That's the dream, that's the goal. But it is about making making friends, basically.
Yes, absolutely. Making friends, having conversations, solving people's problems.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you so much, Amy, for coming on. This has been amazing.
Thank
Thank
you
you
for
so much
having
for your
me.
insights. Where can people find you on socials? Should they want to come and follow you? And if they don't come and follow you, they're mental.
Thank you very much. And even if you just want to, if you just love a bit of Harry Potter cheesiness popping up on your timeline and some cute photos of my boys playing, then I'm the one to follow. But there is lots of social media magic in there as well. So if you type in Content Wizard UK, you will find me on Facebook and Instagram. Amy Content Wizard on LinkedIn. I have a Facebook group as well. If you type in Content Wizards, it will take you to my group, which is free. And that is a place where you can come and ask me questions at any time, and I will answer and try and help you the best I can. But there's also a bit of networking in there, which works quite well with sharing your pages and things like that. So yeah, Content Wizard UK, and you will find me, and you'll know it's me because there's a photo of me in my wizard's hat waving a wand at the camera. So
Oh, brilliant. I will put the links in the show notes anyway. So if you didn't catch that, don't worry. But thank you again, Amy, for joining me today. And I hope all you out there have enjoyed it. See you soon.